pleasant day to everyone. My name is Keisha Casandra Giata, your moderator for today. And we will discuss regarding the topic, Rehabilitation of Bataan Nuclear Power Plant in the Philippines. Here are speaker for today's debate. For Agri Sections, Ms. Giselle De Losa.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm De Losa Giselle, BTTFSM students of Electon College. I agree for the rehabilitations and legalize the operations of Bataan Nuclear Power Plant as a part of Philippines constitutions. Because we all know that the Philippines is the highest electricity rate in Asia next to Japan. The Department of Energy estimates that we need an additional 10,191 megawatts of power to meet the country's demand until 2030. Way back 1973, Your Honor, the Bataan Nuclear Power Plants responds the oil crisis during Ferdinand Marcos administrations. He decided to build a nuclear power plant comprising two 600 megawatts energy units. By the time the contract was signed in February 1976, it was for a single 621 megawatts energy. We all know that the status of nuclear power plants construction is completed but never launched. During the rehabilitations and legalized the operations of Bataan Nuclear Power Plant, the economic development constructions of nuclear power plants provides economic growth and creates new jobs. The nuclear power plant constructions create 10 to 15 jobs in related sectors. The development of nuclear energy contributes to the growth of research and national intellectual potential. The question is, why we don't rehabilitate the nuclear power plants and legalize the operations if our country need an additional megawatts to meet the country's demands of energy and to reduce our importations of oil and coal?
Thank you, Ms. Giselle. And now let's proceed for disagree opinion, which is the speaker is Ms. Jessica Ang.
I respect much in what Ms. Giselle objective about the rehabilitation of Bataan nuclear power plants in the Philippines. But I truly disagree. Why? Because this power energy bring bad impact in our environment. We also know nuclear energy produce radioactive waste. This material is very problematic and dangerous in a human health for 100,000 of years. Just like what happened in Fukushima, Japan on March 2011, the worst disaster in the history. The reaction were destroyed by tsunami following a major earthquake. And a lot of people affected. Hundreds of property was damaged. Millions of investment and money lost. Aside from that, lives of their loved one was gone because of that disaster. Terrorism threats are another concern that needs to be addressed in this issue. However, why we don't try the other form of energy like geothermal, wind energy, and solar energy? This kind of energy was very safe to us and to our environment. Geothermal, wind energy, and solar energy are already used in other countries. It means if other countries use this kind of energy, why Philippines cannot? This kind of energy is a very renewable energy. It could lead us to a green and better future, not only for us, but for our next generation. This is Ms. Jessica Silvaang, BTTE 443C, signing off. Thanks.
And now, we will continue to agree, which is Arvin Podador.
So again, my name is Arvin Podador from BTT FSMC 443. Agree for my rehabilitation of Bataan Nuclear Power Plant in the Philippines. Given the economic, thus the Philippine government is planning to consider the offering of BNPP, CNN, and the Philippines staff reported that the current administration is seeing BNPP as a potential solution to the ever-growing energy debate in the Philippines despite the potential as a power source. The citizen without the vicinity of the BNPP are much more concerned about the hazard and their perception of it as an outdated energy source Siguro, at dahil kung ang gobyerno ang may-ari at sa ganun, hindi ito papayagang makabuo ng kapangyarihan na maaaring baguhin ang isang batas. At sa daling bigyan ng green light ng gobyerno ang pagpapatakbo ng BNPP, lusun ito sa international na ilalim sa mas safety infection para maiwasan ang mga posibleng nuclear disaster at matapos maglabas si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte ng Executive Order 164 na nagtatag ng isang nuclear energy program para palawakin ang pinagkukunan ng kuryente sa bansa. And thank you.
And now, we will continue to agree, which is Alejandro Fernandez.
I'm Mr. Alejandro C. Fernandez from BTTE 443C. I agree to reopen the Bataan nuclear power plant because it will lower the price of our electricity. Because we can use less charcoal and fuel to run it than the electricity we currently use. And it's also more eco-friendly because it does not work any greenhouse gases that are harmful to our environment. And the nuclear waste can be recycled and we can produce new fuel, so because of this, it will reduce the contribution to our future global warming.
And now, let's proceed to the disagree section, which is Julian Marvin Prudencio.
Rehabilitation of Bataan Nuclear Power Plant in the Philippines. Among the different energy sources of Earth, nuclear energy is the most controversial. This reputation is a result of different nuclear accident transpired in the past. The 3 Miles Islands accident, 1979, Cranberry disaster, 1986, and Fukushima disaster of 2011 spake the horrific events. Several countries stopped. Nuclear energy is primarily for the electricity, considered as the critical components of net zero emission future. Still, safety and major issue today's of society and energy sources. A few weeks ago, Winnie Montes' opinion piece about the rehabilitation of Bataan nuclear power plant, the explained performance economics opened in her article considering the benefits that the country could bring again due time and government rehabilitate. Switch to BNP total bayarin naman. For Winnie highlights and details about the nuclear energy which lead to her stand and matter. Here's some of the details that like focus on 2019 survive. So the result is the exclusive order. No. 164 should 8 out of 10 Filipinos approve. The rehabilitation of BNPP, rehabilitation of BNP is a way. Chapter of building a new nuclear power plant and electricity and generated using nuclear energy is a chapter that coal of generated electricity, nuclear electricity generation emits a carbon that solar generated electricity, nuclear power is the safety we make our electricity. First of survive, she said CEO of 164 some show that Filipinos are becomes less arrived to nuclear energy. However, 2018 plus Asia survived.
Let's continue again to this to agree section, which is Jo Marie Delphine. Parang papakilala lang ako ng ano.
Hello everyone, my name is Jo Marie Delphine, section BTTE FSM 443C. And our topic is nuclear power plant in the Philippines. I agree with the nuclear power plant because it helped our country a lot. It will help our Filipino people a lot because one of the good thing about it is the reducing in the price of electricity. There are many Filipino people can be helped here because the problem of the Filipino is the electricity bill. Because of it will lower the price of electricity, and not only that, it will also help the environment, so it will have a good effect on our country. If our President Marcos implement it, I agree, because it will help a lot in the development of our economy. And I will also reduce pollution because nuclear power reactors do not produce carbon dioxide emissions. Unlike fossil fuel fired power plants, nuclear reactors do not produce air pollution or carbon dioxide while they are operating.
And let's continue again to disagree section, which is Rico Ben de la Cruz.
Nuclear power plant produce radioactive materials can also emit highly electron, beta and alpha particles. This concentrate energy can extremely damage the molecules of our body and sometimes giving rise to cancer.
And now, and now let's proceed the last, which is disagree group, Renalyn Romero.
This is the reason why I choose disagree on nuclear power plant. First is waste risk. Consumed fuel rods from nuclear power plant are radioactive waste. Most fuel rods are stored at the same site as the reactor that consumed. This has given rise to hundreds of radioactive waste sites in many countries that must be maintained and funded for at least 200 years, far beyond the lifetime of any nuclear power plant. The more nuclear power waste that accumulate, the greater the risk of radioactive leaks, which can damage water supply, crops, animals, and humans. Next, mining lung cancer risk. Uranium mining causes lung cancer in large number of miners because of uranium mines contain natural gas, some of whose decay product is carcinogenic. A study of 4,000 uranium miners between 1950 and 2000 found that 405 of 10% died of lung cancer, a rate 6 times that expected based on smoking rates alone. 61 others died of mining-related lung disease. Clean renewable energy does not have the risk because it does not require the continuous mining of any material. Only one-time mining to produce the energy generator, and the mining does not carry the same lung cancer risk that uranium mining does. Nuclear advocates claim nuclear is still needed because renewables are intermittent and need natural gas for backup. However, nuclear itself never matches power demand, so it needs backup. Even in France, with one of the most advanced nuclear energy programs, the maximum ramp rate is 1 to 5% a minute, which means they need natural gas. Hydropower or batteries which ramp up to 5 to 100 times faster to meet peaks in demand. Today, in fact, batteries are beating natural gas for wind and solar backup needs throughout the world. A dozen independent scientific groups have further found that it's possible to match intermittent power demand with clean renewable energy supply and storage without nuclear at low cost. Finally, many existing nuclear power plants are so costly that their owners are demanding subsidies to stay open. For example, in 2016, 3 existing upstate New York nuclear power plants requested and received subsidies to stay open, using the argument that the plant were needed to keep emission low. However, subsidizing such plant may increase carbon emission and cost relative to replacing the plants with wind or solar as soon as possible. Thus, subsidizing nuclear would result in higher emission and cost over the long term than replacing nuclear with renewables.
Thank you for listening for our group debate. And now let's proceed to my conclusion. For the supporters of nuclear energy argue that it's an efficient source of energy that is easy to implement. People against nuclear energy propose using combined methods of solar, wind and geothermal energy. Solar, wind and geothermal energy still have environment issues, but ones that are not as great as nuclear power plants or coal burning power plants.